wants to change its economic policies. Abe says he gave the same instructions to Ishihara as he did to Amari. He says his administration will continue to uphold its current economic policies, it will continue to prioritize economic growth and reforms, and will devote its power to carrying out growth strategies.
We interviewed Ishihara after his first question and answer session in the Diet as Economic Revitalization Minister. Our anchor, Naoko Suzuki, says she watched today's Diet session from the gallery. She says fierce heckling came from the opposition. She asked Ishihara how he feels about his responsibilities in the cabinet. Ishihara says he was criticized for his past remarks. He says he now takes that criticism seriously. He says he wants to support Abe and help him carry out his policies so that Japan can escape deflationary pressure. He says he's aware of his commitment to creating the positive situation as soon as possible where people can actually feel the country's economy has been revitalized. Suzuki asks him what Abe said to him when he appointed him to this post. Ishihara says Abe asked him to help him with his economic policies. He says he was actually quite surprised at the resignation of Amari. Ishihara says when he was offered the post, he felt he must accept this heavy responsibility. Ishihara has enjoyed a long friendship with Abe. They formed a group together with Health Minister Yasuhisa Shiozaki and former Reconstruction Minister Takumi Nemoto. The group was called NICE, which stood for their initials. Suzuki asks Ishihara how he wants to support Abe in the current situation. Ishihara says NICE grew from a study group on Social Security and nursing care insurance. He says he later became the head of the group of lawmakers for promoting the insurance, while Abe led the party's welfare and labor panel. Ishihara says they debated various issues which helped them decide their current policies. He says he feels it is his mission to support Abe. Suzuki says Japanese stock prices have dropped since the start of the year. She says the negative interest rate introduced by the Bank of Japan last week seems to have had a considerable impact. She says she feels the future of Japan's economy is uncertain. She says she asks Ishihara what he thinks will be needed to ensure a positive growth cycle. Ishihara says before assuming this post, he was working for 1.5 years as the head of a study panel on smaller businesses, including firms with 5 or fewer workers. He says he used to travel around the country during that period. He says major companies have been doing well. He says he believes it's important to help smaller businesses, especially those outside major cities. He says at the same time, the government must closely monitor fluctuations in share prices and crude oil prices. Ishihara will now take over the responsibility regarding the TPP Free Trade Pact from Amari. Relevant bills will be deliberated in the Diet for the pact to become effective. Ishihara says Amari has worked hard and finished 90% of the work necessary to realize the pact. He says it is his responsibility now to complete the work and set a flag on the summit. He says he hopes to consult officials who have been involved in the negotiations and fully understand the issue, so he'll be able to give satisfactory explanations in the Diet.
In the Diet today, the gist of the fiscal 2016 budget bill is explained to the budget committees of both chambers. The ruling and opposition camps agreed to ask Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and all the cabinet ministers to attend question and answer sessions in executive meetings for 3 days from tomorrow. One issue that's expected to draw attention is politics and money. The Japanese Communist Party's So Hei-min asked about donations from companies and organizations. He says Amari and his aides have been accused of receiving large amounts of money in exchange for mediating. He says that's illegal, and that the allegations are serious enough to question whether Amari is qualified to retain his seat as a lawmaker. He says corporate donations are offered because they're demanded in exchange for favors, and the root of this development lays in ethical views regarding the donations. Abe says using funds to attempt to twist policies around is unforgivable. He says he does not think corporate donations to political parties are inappropriate. He says each party and Diet group must debate this thoroughly from the viewpoint of how the public funds a democracy.
Tokyo prosecutors have questioned officials of a government-backed urban development agency on a voluntary basis over a fund scandal involving former Economic Revitalization Minister Akira Amari. Amari resigned last week over allegations that his office received money from a construction firm to help the business negotiate compensation from the Urban Renaissance Agency. Amari's aides and the agency have denied any such mediation took place. Amari says he deeply apologizes. Amari met with reporters on Thursday and acknowledged he had received 1 million yen in cash and that one of his aides had accepted 5 million yen in cash, but he said he learned for the first time through media reports about his office helping the company negotiate compensation over construction problems with the agency. Sources have learned that Tokyo prosecutors had questioned officials at the agency on a voluntary basis about negotiations concerning compensation. The agency reportedly said its officials in charge of compensation negotiations met with Amari's aides on at least 9 occasions since June 2013. The agency has talked about what happened at those meetings. In October of last year, it says an aide asked how much compensation had been offered. It says the aide took a step further and suggested it would be better for the construction company to move out of the district, even if it meant offering more